So, Stephen, what is one of your very favorite dishes to have for dinner in the fall?
That would be chili.
Chili.
And cornbread.
And cornbread. Glad you said that. So, I've made a lot of different chili recipes here on my channel. Today, I'm going to bring you 5 of those so that you can have whichever chili you're in the mood for. Hey y'all, I'm Mandy, and this is Mandy in the Making. All right, so if you are looking for a chili that has a good Tex Mex flair to it, we got one as a subby supper. I'm pretty sure this was a subby supper. I just recently made it for our small group.
Oh, yeah.
And they ate it up. As in, they took some home.
Yeah, that's right.
To have for.
That's right.
To have for a meal the next day. They loved it so much. So this one is called
the Southwest Tex Mex Chili.
It has been cooking all day in our crock pot, which is right here. It smells heavenly. I'm going to take you back in time, obviously, and show you how I made it. Oh, it made so much too. We're going to have chili coming out of our ears. Okay, I've got my large skillet heated to medium-high heat. I'm going to add in 1 pound of ground beef. And I'm going to add in some chorizo sausage. I did remove the casing. This is about a pound. Now, she mentioned that you want to use a pound of ground pork as well. I could not find it at any of my grocery stores. So do any combination of meats that you feel comfortable with. So she only does half a pound of chorizo, but I'm gonna do a full pound since I don't have the ground pork. And along with our meat, we're gonna add in 2 cups of diced onion. I just did a really large onion. Okay, so all of my meat is cooked. I did drain off all of the fat, and now I'm gonna add in some taco seasoning. I make my own taco seasoning, but if you don't make your own, it's just 1 pack of taco seasoning. I'm gonna use about 2 to 3 tablespoons. I'm just gonna stir this to combine, and then we're gonna go over to the crock pot and add everything in. Okay, to my large crock pot, I have added all of our meat. We're gonna add in 2 cans of pinto beans. I did not drain these. You could do 1 large 28-ounce can if that's easier. I'm just using what I had on hand. We're gonna do 1 can of chili beans. Again, I did not drain these. We're gonna use 1 can of Rotel. Mine is just the regular Rotel. She did say to use the lime and cilantro kind, and I would have if I could have found it in my grocery store, but I couldn't. Okay, you can use 1 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I am just gonna use 2 cans of diced tomatoes that I have on hand. One is the regular, and one is the petite diced. I'm also going to put in a can of red enchilada sauce. She said a can of beef broth, so about 14 ounces or so a little over a cup. Something I was very glad I could find was this. She said the picked sweet Mexican street corn. So this is an 18-ounce container and it's frozen. We're gonna add that in. Let's stir all of that around. Now, something I found pretty interesting is that she adds 2 to 3 tablespoons just to taste of brown sugar. And if you've been around, you know I add brown sugar to my green beans, so it shouldn't be that odd, but I'm gonna add in a couple of tablespoons, I guess. I did probably about 2 tablespoons. We're gonna go with 3. Let's stir that in. This makes a lot of soup. She did mention that it's even better on the 2nd day, which most soups are. Oh my goodness, this looks and smells amazing, that chorizo. Okay, let's put the lid on this. I'm just kidding. I totally forgot I had drained and rinsed this can of black beans, so let's add that in too. There we go. Now let's put the lid on it. Okay, she said to do it on high for 4 to 6 hours, so we're probably gonna do about 5 hours on high. And mine tends to cook a little hot, like extra hot, so I may come in here halfway through and just turn it down to low.
This looks amazing though.
It does look good.
Loaded with spices and all kinds of flavors that I know it's got chorizo in there, so.
Yeah, he was super excited this morning when I was cooking the chorizo.
Yeah, definitely got the chorizo.
Yeah?
Oh man, yeah. Lots of flavor that chorizo adds in there.
Oh yeah. So compare it to taco soup. There is no comparison.
It's much better than that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And we love that taco soup recipe.
The tortilla chips was a nice touch.
Okay, good.
Sour cream.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, you're gonna like it.
These are from Aldi. These are sparkling water cherry lime. I always get a question or two about what it is we're drinking. All right, I'm gonna give it a try. Cole, are you enjoying it? All right. He's very much enjoying it. This is so good. Ma'am. You're very vocal. We did not add any cheese. I know, it's a shame. This is so much better than taco soup. It has so much more flavor. We really love this. So thank you, Rose, for submitting this. He's on bowl number 2. If you love Wendy's chili, I do like to get a baked potato and Wendy's chili and then pour my chili over the baked potato. It's so good. But if you like Wendy's chili, we got you covered.
With the Copycat Wendy's chili.
There's very minimal chopping in today's recipe, but I am going to use my little handy dandy chopper to chop up our green bell pepper, our onion, and our celery. So this recipe does not call for garlic.
How dare they?
We're gonna add garlic.
Yes, we are.
So I'm gonna turn our large Dutch oven to about medium-high heat and let it heat up before we add in our ground beef. So I can feel the heat coming off of this. It's ready. Let's add in about a tablespoon of olive oil to the bottom. And I've got extremely lean ground beef. This is 93.7, so we're not gonna have to drain this when we're done. We're also gonna add in all of our veggies. I'm gonna add in my garlic too, but I'm gonna wait till closer to the end when our ground beef is almost done. Again, the recipe does not call for this, but you know how much we love our Auntie No-Nos. Just gonna add in a little bit, maybe a teaspoon. Now let's add in our garlic. Now that our ground beef is cooked up, we're gonna start adding everything else in. We need a can of Rotel, or, you know, the generic Rotel. 28 ounces of stewed tomatoes. A 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. A can of pinto beans, and you don't want to drain these. And the same with our kidney beans, don't drain them beforehand. Lastly, we're gonna add in a pack of chili seasoning mix and just stir this and bring it up to a boil. Y'all see what's happening right now? Someone had a request. Now that this has come up to a boil, I am gonna turn it down to about medium-low, and I'm gonna put the lid on it, and we're gonna let it simmer. The recipe says for an hour. In all honesty, it's probably gonna simmer for like maybe 45 minutes, just while our cornbread is in the oven. So if you've never seen my cornbread recipe, I'm gonna link it below. I'm not gonna go through all of it right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and get cornbread in the oven. So at the very end of it cooking, you're supposed to add in about a tablespoon of white vinegar. I totally forgot to do this on the stove, but we'll just add it in now.
Yes. Ooh, that vinegar. Nice little flavor enhancer there. I like that.
I thought that was kind of strange, but
really good. Really, really, really good. I like that it's a little soupy, because I was kind of craving soup for today. So
yeah, you didn't want it too thick anyway.
I'm glad it's rather soupy.
Okay. And while he takes a bite of that.
Big chunks of tomatoes. Big fan here of that. That's really good.
I was going to tell y'all, I used up the last of our buttermilk that we had on hand, and we had low-fat buttermilk. I've never made my cornbread with low-fat buttermilk, and I probably will never do it again. It just was very crumbly, more so than usual, but I just didn't want it to waste, So I know this is Wendy's Copycat, and we did change it up just a little bit, but y'all, this is so much better than Wendy's chili. And I don't taste the vinegar. He said he can just tell there's something different. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, when you add the vinegar in with the tomato, it kind of gives that like ketchup kind of flavor to it.
Okay. Yeah, and then my regular chili that I make, I use ketchup, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's really good.
Okay.
Very good.
Lou, what is it? You've already had cheese. You want some cornbread? You... Okay. She loves cornbread too, y'all. She's a southern kitty. Did you get it all? That's it. And then if you're just looking for just a basic chili recipe, my family has had this particular recipe passed down. I think this is from my great-great-grandfather. They refer to it as chili con carne, I think is what they called it.
Chili con carne.
But We've been making it for generations in our family. So if you're just looking for an easy, basic chili, it was one of the very first things I ever recorded for my YouTube channel. Here's how you know a recipe is very well loved. Look at all of those splatter marks. For the chili recipe, you're going to need some vegetable oil, some ketchup, onion that's going to be diced, pound to a pound and a half of lean ground beef, chili powder, salt, diced tomatoes. There's sauce, although I'm not going to use that whole entire can. I only need about half of it. And then whatever type of beans you would like to put in your chili. I just purchased the chili beans this time. You can use kidney beans or pinto beans, whatever you like. So I'm gonna dice up my onion just using this. That way I don't have to cry about it. I quarter the onions just to make it easier to go into this and cut. So the first thing I'm gonna do is heat my pan or my skillet to about medium to medium high heat and add a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil to the pan. Okay, so now that the oil has heated up, I'm gonna put the ground beef in, and I'm also gonna add the diced onion in with it to saute the onions as well. I'm gonna let that brown up. I did use a larger onion than I usually do, but we really love onions, so it doesn't matter to us. You can use a smaller onion, or you can leave the onion out if you don't like it. And now that this is browned up, it is not as lean as I would have liked it to have been. I usually like to use 93/7. But all I had on hand was 80/20, or maybe it's 85/15, I'm not sure. Either way, I need to drain it, so I'm gonna do that now. Now that I've drained the ground beef, I'm gonna add that into this pot, and I'm gonna add everything else in along with it. Since these are chili beans, they have a great sauce to them, so I don't drain these first. I would drain like kidney beans or pinto beans more than likely, but these chili beans, I just leave the sauce in it. I also did not drain these diced tomatoes. I'm gonna use 1 cup of ketchup. I only need 8 ounces of tomato sauce, so I'm just gonna use about half of this can. The recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder. I just eyeball it and then just add some salt. I'm just gonna stir it all together, and then it just needs to simmer. The recipe says for an hour and a half. I've never let it simmer that long. It just, however long it takes me to make the cornbread is how long it's gonna simmer. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna bring it up to a simmer, and then I'm gonna cover it and just let it sit while I start on the cornbread. It's time to dig in, y'all. All right, guys, lunch is served. We're having this for lunch today just so I have time to edit. But chili with cheese on top, cornbread, and of course, sweet tea in mason jar glasses. It doesn't get more southern than this. If you are looking for a white chicken chili, we've tried many different recipes, but we have a favorite. And our favorite is
the killer white chicken chili.
And that is made in the
Instant Pot.
Not Instapot. Take a look. Tonight we're cooking in the Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, no big deal. You could do this in the crock pot. But tonight we're making Instant Pot Killer White Chicken Chili. Before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my Instant Pot to saute and let that be heating up. Our Instant Pot says that it's hot. We're gonna drop in a couple of tablespoons of butter and let that melt. I did want to mention I am cutting this recipe in half, so I'm not going to give you all the exact measurements because some of them are kind of weird because I've cut it in half. But if you're looking for the recipe, it's always linked in the description box below, right below the video. Now I'm going to add in my celery and my onion. And we're going to saute this for just about 3 or 4 minutes just to kind of soften it up. Now we're going to add in our seasonings. In here I've got some oregano, some white pepper, some salt, garlic powder, cumin, and smoked paprika. Now I'm gonna pour in my water. I've got 2.5 cups here. And I'm just gonna scrape the bottom just to make sure. I don't think anything is sticking, but you never wanna have anything sticking on the bottom of your Instant Pot because you'll get that burn notice. I'm gonna add in about a tablespoon of this Better Than Bouillon chicken base. And we're gonna go ahead and hit cancel. Now, I have some navy beans that I did an overnight soak on. I will go back here and show you how I did that. But these are drained and ready to go. So I'm gonna add these in. And I'm adding in boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I've got about a pound here. And again, I'm halving everything. Okay, we're gonna use a button I've never used, and that's our soup button. And we're gonna set it to 12 minutes. There we go. Okay, it just finished. We're gonna let it slow release for 10 minutes and then we'll release the rest of the pressure. So I'm gonna wait for this to count up. So it's been counting down. If you're not familiar with Instant Pot, it counted down from 12 down to 0, and now it's gonna count up. I'm gonna let it count up to 10. And once that's done, we'll be ready to add in some more ingredients. Okay, now I'm gonna remove our chicken and we're gonna shred it. I'm just gonna pull it over here to this cutting board. It's falling apart as I'm pulling it out of the Instant Pot, which is always a good sign. I was gonna grab a fork and a knife, but I don't need it. Now we're gonna add this back to our chili. It's Steven's favorite ingredient. It's only 4 ounces.
I think it's gonna be okay though, because this thing has some really potent herbs and spices in there.
I just wanted to chop this up just because it's been sitting out. It's pretty softened already, but just to make it a little bit easier to melt down in there. So let's add in this cream cheese and let that start to melt. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's add in a can of Rotel. The full recipe calls for a full can, so I'm only gonna do about half of it. Gonna add in a cup of salsa verde.
Oh boy, that is looking good.
And lastly, we're gonna add in about a can of corn. I always just use frozen corn. This has been sitting out at room temperature for a while now too. It's not frozen anymore, but it's definitely gonna cool it down. So I'm gonna turn this back over to saute just to start to heat it up really good. Let's just let that warm through and then dinner is ready.
Yes, I'm excited. White chicken chili.
So we love white chicken chili.
That is amazing.
Is it?
That's unlike anything you've ever tasted.
Really?
Yeah. You haven't had anything like this yet.
Oh, I'm excited.
It is like on a whole different galaxy.
A whole different galaxy.
It's a
Y'all
whole,
heard it here.
It's a whole different galaxy away from regular
White chicken chili?
that you get in the little package.
Yeah.
No. Don't ever buy that again. I mean, it's not like spicy hot, but it's just different, kind of a fiery flavor to it.
Okay.
And then the salsa verde gives it a little punch. And then
probably that
all
Rotel too.
Yeah, the Rotel gives it some of that.
And then that chicken is just super tender. Hands down, the best white chicken chili I've ever had. Like, I feel like this could win a contest. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it has cream cheese in it.
I mean, it makes it really creamy, the stew.
Yeah.
It gives it more of that creamy.
It's not a whole lot of cream cheese. I mean, it's 4 ounces. So
not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it's still a little soupy, but the consistency is right where you want it to be.
Yeah, the recipe mentioned that if you wanted to thicken it up even more, you could throw some cornstarch in there and turn it back over to saute, but I feel like it's the perfect consistency. It's not too thick, but it's not completely soupy either. Y'all, the flavors on this are just on point. Steven said just a second ago, a lot of times we'll talk about like if there's anything we think we could change or whatever. He said, this literally needs nothing done to it. It is perfection. So
Don't change it.
don't change it. Just make it. One of Steven's favorite ingredients in a chili to change it up is chorizo. He loves chorizo. It has
really
so
good.
much flavor.
Yeah.
So this one is...
Spicy chorizo chili.
To go along with it, I'm gonna be making our cornbread. I need to get it in the oven first because the meal itself, the chorizo chili, only takes like 30 minutes total. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the cornbread in the oven and then we'll start on the other. Okay, to get started, I'm going to chop up my onion and chop up this poblano pepper. I'm also going to take the seeds out. The only other thing I need to do is just remove the casings off of these chorizo sausages. The last thing I need to do is just drain and rinse both of these pinto beans. These have no salt added. It did say to use chicken broth that has no salt added, but I could not find that, so I do have low sodium chicken broth. Okay, so I've got my large Dutch oven here. I'm heating it to medium high. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm just going to put my chorizo sausage in here. All right, so now that this is cooked, it's kind of hard to tell when this is browned because it's already brown, but I'm just gonna remove this and leave the drippings behind. Now, into our drippings, we are gonna add onion and poblano. And I'm just going to get these pretty soft, so cook them for like 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna add a little more olive oil in there because I think it needs just a little more. You wanna make sure that you are constantly stirring and not letting them burn on the bottom of the pan. I wish y'all could smell this. It smells so good. Okay, those have softened up. I'm gonna add in a tablespoon of tomato paste. I'm also adding in a couple of teaspoons of chili powder. And then a teaspoon each of kosher salt, ground cumin, and garlic powder. So now I'm gonna add in about a cup of these pinto beans, and we're gonna mash these up. It's gonna help thicken up the chili. Now I'm gonna add in 3 cups of chicken broth. This is reduced sodium. Before I add it all in, I am gonna kind of stir and deglaze the pan. Let me grab that. Oh, there it is. There we go. You just want to get all that good stuff off the bottom as much as possible. Add the rest in. Now I'm going to add in the rest of my beans. And we're gonna bring this up to a boil. I almost forgot, I need to add in my chorizo as well. Now, let's bring this up to a boil. Now that this has come up to a boil, I'm gonna reduce the heat to about medium-low. And we're just gonna let it simmer for 5 minutes. And that's gonna be about the time when our cornbread is coming out of the oven. And it's gonna be time to eat.
Love the flavor of chorizo. It's one of my favorite things. I've never had anything quite like this before. The soup is very bold.
Bold.
Yes, bold,
okay.
Rich,
Yeah.
spicy flavors.
Yeah.
And that chorizo.
Okay, so I was really hoping Cole was gonna like this one, and ooh, he likes. Okay, he's just quiet over there, so I didn't know what was going on, but
Too busy eating this good
too
stuff.
busy eating. All right, so I'm gonna do the same. So I have to agree, this is really bold. I love it. It's just a kind of in-your-face chili. Like, it's just really rich and hearty. But I will say, it is nowhere near as spicy as I was expecting it to be. I wouldn't even consider this really spicy. So if you were thinking, oh, that sounds good, but I'm scared of spice, it's really not that spicy. So when you're eating your chili, I mean, you can do crackers if you need to, or just regular bread if you need to. I mean, in a pinch, right? But what do we do in this house?
Cornbread.
Cornbread. And whose recipe do we use?
We use Grandmom's cornbread.
That's right, his grandmother's cornbread recipe. We make it in her skillet as well. We have her cast iron skillet. And what is one ingredient that we do not put in our cornbread?
We don't put sugar in the cornbread.
You just don't do that in the South. No. I mean, maybe some Southerners do.
I guess some Southerners probably do. I mean, corn muffins.
Well, yeah, like
you have sugar
Jiffy.
in the corn muffin.
Yeah. But in our cornbread, no. If you need a good cornbread recipe, a true Southern cornbread recipe, we got you. Okay, I've got the oven preheating to 425. I wanted to show you the ingredients that you need for this recipe. You really don't need a lot. You just need some shortening. We just use Crisco. You need some self-rising cornmeal. You You need buttermilk. I think it does make a difference whether you use like the low fat or the whole. This is the whole buttermilk. And 2 eggs. And you need a great cast iron skillet. I believe you can use a cake pan, but I think it makes a big difference on the crust and how it bakes if you use something like a cast iron skillet. Like I mentioned before, this was my husband's grandmother's cast iron skillet, so it's been in the family for quite some time, and it is well loved and well seasoned. The first thing I'm going to do is grease the skillet. It needs to be very well greased, and it's not with like Pam or anything. You're going to use shortening to grease it. I just use a snack bag, like a little Ziploc bag, and I stick my hand in it, and I just dip it down into the shortening to get enough, and then I just smear it all over the bottom and the sides of the skillet. All right, so that's what your skillet should look like. It should be very well greased. Okay, so now I have 2.5 cups of the self-rising cornmeal in here. I'm gonna add to it a 1/2 cup of the shortening. I'm gonna add 2 eggs. I'm just gonna take this pastry cutter and I'm going to mix all of this together by pressing down into it and kind of doing a circular motion. So it's done when it looks like this. It kind of looks very coarse, like crumbs. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of buttermilk and I'm gonna stir it all together until it is well mixed. I'm gonna use a fork to do that. You don't have to worry about all of the lumps being out. Just make sure that you've grabbed all of the dry ingredients from the bottom and mixed it in very well. Now you simply just pour it into the skillet. This is gonna go into the oven at 425 for 25 to 35 minutes. You wanna place it towards the bottom of the oven just so that you get that good golden brown around the crust. This looks pretty perfect. It is starting to get brown around the edges. There's a few brown spots on the top. So now I just need to flip it over. I always put it on a cake plate just so that we can cover it and stay sealed because we're gonna eat it over several days. The crust on it is perfect. There is nothing like buttermilk cornbread, especially when it's served with some really great homemade chili. Out of those 5, which one is your favorite?
Man, I mean,
I love a good classic chili. But I'm going to tell you right now, that killer white chicken chili,
there's just something about it. It is so good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. But I love a classic chili too. Some people don't like chili. Some people don't like beans in their chili.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm one of those people that like beans, but I'm very particular.
Not the kidney beans.
No kidney beans in my chili.
No.
Gotta be pinto beans. I think pinto beans have the best chili flavor to them.
Yeah, and the texture is different too. Kidney beans are a little drier and have not a crunchy, but they're a little more crisp than... I like pinto beans because they're a little on the mushier side.
Like when I go get chili out somewhere, if it comes with kidney beans, I'm like, put pinto beans in here. We got an extra star if you had pinto beans in this chili.
That's right.
Pinto beans is the best.
Okay. We're excited to hear which one you're going to try. If you've tried any of these, let us know. If you have a different type of chili recipe that you love, you can always submit it on my website. You just go to mandyinthemaking.com and you scroll down and you'll see where it says to submit a subby supper. So you can do that, or you can talk about it in the comments. We'd love to hear about what your favorite...
Okay. Yeah.
We would love to hear about your favorite chili in the comments. We always love to chat with you guys there. Mm-hmm. And then, do you have anything else to say?
I would really appreciate it if you'd do me a big old favor and hit that like button. I mean, it's just right there. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing. That way, all of the content that she puts out, which she does a couple times a week, will pop up in your feed.
That's right.
And you'll have it right there, readily accessible.
So many of you are not subscribed, and we would love to have y'all join our little family here on YouTube. So hit the subscribe button. Thank y'all for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.